What is up, guys? This is Orcaflop, and today I'm coming at you with another video. And this video I know should have been released a little bit while ago, probably like last week or something. But the reason being is because I was sick as a dog last week and I didn't have time to make this video and give my thoughts. So I'm making it now. I'm going to be reviewing the 2020 NASCAR schedule that was released last week. And that NASCAR showed us, and they made quite a lot of changes to the schedule, tweaked it a lot, did a lot of things to change it up, and overall, I think we should review it and talk about it. And I'll give my thoughts on it, and at the end, I'll hear your thoughts on it. So, without further ado, let's review the entire 2020 NASCAR schedule. So, like usual, we start out with Speed Weeks. The Clash starts out the schedule with the Duels of Daytona on the Thursday, on the week after the Clash, and then the Daytona 500 is a week after the Clash with the Daytona Truck Race, the Xfinity Race right there with it, and the ARCA Race is still on the same weekend as the Clash. So nothing changed there, it seems. But after the Daytona 500, here's the first major change. We go straight into the West Coast swing. We start with Las Vegas Motor Speedway, then go to Auto Club Raceway, or Auto Club Speedway, sorry, I just stuttered there. And then we end the West Coast swing at ISM. So it's a three-race West Coast swing that starts at Vegas and then ends at Phoenix. And then as the fifth race of the season, we go to Atlanta Motor Speedway. I honestly like this move. I think Atlanta being the second race of the season wasn't that good, particularly because of the bad weather that struck Atlanta. And had kind of had a little bit of a curse for the last couple of years. Atlanta kind of has had a bad reputation for having poor weather in the early parts of the year, so they moved it down to the fifth race of the season and just went straight into the West Coast swing, since generally the West has better weather in like February and early March. So that overall is a good change, I think. And then going straight into Atlanta getting pushed a little bit later back in the season. It might have better weather and better racing if it's hotter and slicker. And the sixth race of the season is Homestead Miami Speedway. This is the first major change of the schedule. As you can clearly tell, Homestead is no longer the season finale. I kind of want to get into this a little bit. This is the first bad move, I think, of the schedule. I think taking Homestead away from being a traditional championship race that we've kind of adjusted to ever since Atlanta was removed from being the championship race, having Homestead as the championship race was kind of becoming the new tradition, the new feel, sort of. And moving Homestead to March is the same weekend as the NHRA Gator Nationals and the IMSA 12 Hours of Sebring. The attendance couldn't be shaped up to be any worse for Homestead, because you take a look at where Sebring is, and it's around the middle of Florida, and then Miami and Homestead is all the way at the bottom. It's about a 2 to 3 hour drive from Sebring to Homestead. So to make the argument that some fans would want to switch it up a little bit and, go from Sebring to Homestead, you can't really do that in one weekend. That'd be very hard. And then the Gator Nationals, I just think overall that weekend is already big in terms of Florida racing. So that's kind of a recipe for disaster, because I think where NASCAR is, or at least the state of NASCAR, I think people would much rather go to the 12 Hours of Sebring and the Gator Nationals, since those are more traditional races to the local Florida fans, or Florida racing fans in general. Because with Sebring, you have the Burning Couch, and there were upwards of 200,000 people at Sebring this year. I can only imagine how the attendance at Sebring will be in 2020. The Gator Nationals is always a well-attended event. Florida fans love their drag racing, so that could only be a well-attended event. So I think the competition outweighs Homestead a lot, and Homestead could have real poor attendance, and it kind of ruins the whole spectacle of Homestead being the season finale. I think that's what drew the attendance towards Homestead, with it being the sixth race of the season now, with Fox broadcasting it. I don't see it's being that good for the track owners. I don't see this being a good move. I don't like this move. I wish they would have kept Homestead the season finale. And if they are going to change the season finale, I was hoping it'd be Atlanta, but we'll get to that later in the video. So after Homestead, we go to Texas and then Bristol. Kind of the same way it is now, just go from Texas to Bristol. I have a little bit of a mile and a half in there. And then we have an off weekend, April 12th. April 19th, we go back to Richmond. It is on a Sunday, so it will be a day race. I think that's good in particular because Richmond tends to have better racing in the day rather than the night, as we've seen. So, and Richmond's kind of become a dying event, at least a spring race. So I think to put it back in the spring and overall have better racing, I think it'd be better. Although attendance did go up in 2018, so maybe moving it to the spring will help encourage the fans to go to the race in 2020. So that can only be good. Then after that, we go to Talladega. Dover is still got its date in May. Let's see here. May 9th, Mother's Day weekend, we have Martinsville Speedway now being a Saturday night race. This is one of my favorite moves on the schedule. I am all in favor of a Martinsville night race. We've been asking for one for a while, ever since they installed lights and since we've had the 2017 finish. So it may not be the most traditionalist thing that we'll get to later in the schedule. However, I think it would. It's what fans have been asking for. We would love to see a lot of short track Martinsville night racing. So I think it can only be good. Trucks are also racing at Martinsville at night on a Friday night. That can only be good. So overall, I think that is a very good move. Then you have the All-Star race and the Coke 600. Can't really change that since it's on the same weekend as Monaco and the Indy 500. What you gonna do? Kansas goes back to its original spring date as being a day race in late May, nearly June. So it's nearly a summer race. So Kansas goes back to its original spring date, which I liked because I think the Kansas races were particularly better with the original date because with it being day, you have more handling and tire wear, and that allows cars to be slide around more and in the long run, it produces better racing, so I think Kansas being the day race again could only be good. Then we go to Michigan, Sonoma, and then NBC gets their schedule with Chicagoland. My boy Chicagoland is still in the summer where it was for 2018 and now 2019, so that's always good. Here we go. Another bad move, a Pocono doubleheader. I don't know what to say about this. I don't like it personally because I feel like in a sense it's copying IndyCar because IndyCar has put their two worst races being the Detroit Grand Prix, and they've done that to be a doubleheader to try to raise the value of the event and make it more prestigious. I don't think NASCAR can do that with Pocono for the main reason of you have so many. They just kind of said as well, the reason I don't think this is going to work, I don't like this doubleheader. Because, one, it's copying off IndyCar. Two, NASCAR gave us literally no details when they released the final schedule last week. And they didn't tell us that we were going to do a Pocono doubleheader and how it was going to be organized. What time are the races going to start? What teams need to do? Do they need to bring two cars? Do they need to bring one? But just kind of hope and pray that their backup is still ready. How many cars do they have to bring to the track? What do they have to do? How are the fans going to handle it? Track time, schedule. NASCAR, where is it? So, this isn't particularly good, but from what we've heard on Saturday, it'll be the truck race and then the first cup race, and then Sunday will be the Xfinity race and then the second cup race. This is just a recipe for disaster because now we don't know if teams need to bring like 4 cars to the track with 2 backup cars for each primary in the separate races that they're running. We don't know if teams need to bring multiple cars, if they need to bring extra equipment, if they need to even go back to North Carolina in one day and then bring another car for the second race. How is that going to work? I don't see it. So I think that's a recipe for disaster, and it can only mean the worst. We'll see how it is, but I just don't see it working whatsoever. Oh boy, probably my least favorite move on the schedule. Indianapolis goes virtually right back to its original date, and it is on 4th of July weekend. And Indianapolis is now on Independence Day weekend rather than Daytona. They moved Daytona, and I will tell you where they moved Daytona in a little bit. I don't know. I kind of believe what David Land said was correct. Is this NASCAR's way of saying, hey, how about we take Indianapolis and move it to a traditional date that many NASCAR fans have come to know and love? Is this just the NASCAR's way of saying, hey, let's just get rid of Indy as a whole and see what we can work with it for the next years until the contracts expire? Can we go back to IRP? What are we going to do? So I don't know what NASCAR is really trying to get at here. Are they trying to kill the event and just move Daytona temporarily? Or is NASCAR off their meds, and are they literally taking a traditional race and moving it somewhere else? I don't know. But I'd like to mention that attendance will not go up. I don't see it. You can't take a traditional race and then replace it with something terrible and with an event that's been going down for the last 11 years, since 2008. It won't work. Attendance has never been good at Indy, and it's been the worst attended track on the NASCAR schedule, and it can only get worse. I don't see it being good whatsoever. They're taking a traditional race and making it worse. And wait till I tell you where Daytona is now, because it's not good. And Indianapolis isn't going to benefit from this. They're still going to lose attendance, and the majority of fans are now pissed off because you took a tradition event and you moved it. A tradition that's been with us since around the 60s, and you moved it. That's not exactly the thing you want to do, NASCAR, especially since fans are always on the edge of their seats with you now, especially the hardcore ones. So I think ruining tradition wasn't a good idea. Bad move on NASCAR. I don't like that. Kentucky stays at its original date. Then we go to New Hampshire. Then we have 2 straight weeks off. You better hope IMSA, IndyCar F1 are racing those weekends, because NASCAR is taking 2 straight weeks off. It's kind of a pro and con situation. Like, the pro is it's good for the drivers because they have time to be with their families and teams can take a break. But the bad thing is there's no racing for the fans to watch. At least the NASCAR-only fans. There's no racing. Then we go to Michigan. I think Michigan got moved a little bit. Watkins Glen is now August 16th, the same day as the IndyCar Pocono race. So 2 Northeastern racing events are now competing with each other, because that's exactly what we wanted. Oh, jeez. Now, look, Watkins Glen, I think the NASCAR event will win over IndyCar for the main reason of Watkins Glen has been selling out for the last 5 years and has always been a particularly very eventful and fun event for fans to go to. So I think the NASCAR Watkins Glen race will benefit from the IndyCar race, but that's what sucks, because IndyCar also has been getting sold out crowds at Pocono since they came to Pocono in 2015 with the Justin Wilson incident, etc. They've gotten sold out crowds, or at least near sold out crowds, I believe in 2017. And IndyCar's done really well at Pocono so far, attendance-wise. So this really sucks, because I know there's a lot of NASCAR fans out there that like a variety of motorsports. They like IndyCar and NASCAR, and to have them compete with each other just isn't good towards the fan base. So I don't like that move whatsoever. Let's see, where was I? Then we go to Dover. Dover gets pushed back towards August, and rather than being in late July, it's now in August now. Nothing much there. And the playoff cutoff race. Oh, God. It is Daytona. The Daytona Summer Race was moved and replaced with Indianapolis's old date. And now Daytona is the cutoff race, and it is at the worst possible time for Florida weather. I watched Iceberg's video, and I don't know if you watched Iceberg's video, but right where Daytona is right now is hurricane season, primarily for Florida. Irma took place in August, I believe. What was it? Hurricane Katrina? Didn't Katrina take place in August? Either way, August is hurricane season. And the fact that now Daytona is in hurricane season only puts fans in danger. It puts the track in danger. It puts fans in danger. It is at the worst possible point in the schedule. The only thing coming good out of the Daytona Summer Race being moved to the cutoff race is I think TV ratings will go up because drivers will make bold moves, especially underdogs like Michael McDowell, David Reagan, etc. They'll make bold moves to try to get into the 16-driver playoff format. So it'll be a shit show probably, and I think TV ratings will go up. But other than that, you are putting the fans at risk. You're putting the teams at risk. You're putting the track at risk when you're putting it at this date during hurricane season. Terrible time for weather. It could probably rain. If there's no hurricane, it will most likely be very rainy, and it could only mean bad for the fans. Not good, NASCAR. And to take the Firecracker 400 that's been on the same date since the 60s and to move it to here and just make it more gimmicky than it already is, bad move. Bad move, NASCAR. You're only pissing off fans, and this is a bad move. So, again, however long, 2021, I hope they put the Daytona Summer Race back to the Summer Race rather than experimenting with Indianapolis for no reason. So, hopefully it's just a way to kill off Indy. All right. So, that we've had about, I want to say, 3 bad changes, and 2 good changes. So, yeah. So, right now, the cons outweigh the pros. Now we get into the playoffs part of the schedule. Darlington will start the playoffs for the round of 16. Okay, I don't mind that. Darlington's always been near Labor Day weekend and has always been around. Well, not always. It used to be in the spring, but for the most recent parts, it's been in the fall, September, August, around there. And I think Darlington would be a pretty cool track to start the playoffs with. I'm kind of 50-50 on this. I like it because Darlington's a good race for the playoffs, seeing as how it's a very rough surface track and you can make a lot of bold moves, and I think it's a great race for the playoffs, seeing as how driver skill input is going to matter a lot. I don't like it because I think if NASCAR wants to stick with the throwback weekend, I think having Darlington with playoff banners on throwback paint schemes wouldn't work, but that's just me. The Richmond Spring Race stays exactly where it is. It stays in the middle of the round of 16. And the Bristol Night Race is now moved to the round of 16 cutoff race. It's kind of forced drama, but I like it. Why do I like it? Because the Bristol Night Race, I've kind of always wanted to be a playoff race. I always thought it'd be very cool and fun to have a short track as a playoff cutoff race. And I love Bristol. I love Bristol as a whole. I love the spring race. I love the night race. Bristol's one of my favorite tracks other than Chicagoland. And I think the Bristol night race is going to do great. I think attendance might be slightly down because of the reason I think football is in its prime time. And the Tennessee Titans, I think, might have their opening game that day. I'm not for sure. I heard that from the weekly podcast, so that could also hurt attendance because people either say to go to the football game or go to the NASCAR race. It's either or. But I think it's a good move because I think TV ratings will go up because people will want to see, hi, Kat. Anyway, people will want to see fun racing and drama in the playoffs, especially at Bristol, since Bristol is a very dramatic track. Insert Tony Stewart, Matt Kenseth, 2012. So I think that could be a good move for TV ratings. Maybe not attendance, but TV ratings will definitely go up, and I think it would be a very fun round-ending race. And then the round of 12 kind of stays the same, except now it opens with Las Vegas. Las Vegas, the South Point Casino 400 now opens up the round of 12. Talladega stays where it's at in the middle, and then we close out the round of 12 this time with the Roval. I don't see much difference. It's another very dramatic race. It's a very dramatic playoff round closer. The Roval, I think, is a great track to have that because we saw what happened last year. So we can only see more of it could be very entertaining for fans to watch, and TV ratings will be good. They'll be good. And now the round of 8. Now Kansas opens the round of 8. The second Kansas race, the Hollywood Casino 400, not the South Point Casino 400. The Hollywood Casino 400 opens up the round of 8, and then Texas is the second race in the round of 8. And then the cutoff race for the round of 8, here's another good move. Martinsville is the cutoff race for the round of 8. I think that is amazing. A championship 4 cutoff race at Martinsville. Granted, it'll be in the day, but still, it will be very fun and very dramatic. TV ratings will go up. I think that'll be very fun to watch. It'll be very good to see driver input matter even more at a cutoff race now that it's at Martinsville. And I think short tracks really take big driver input, so I think you're going to see the best drivers make it to the Final Four now that Martinsville is a cutoff race. So, now, here's the bad part. The season finale of the 2020 schedule is ISM Raceway. No. Look, NASCAR, I understand you're trying to input more variety to your schedule, and you're trying to give other tracks a chance of having a spectacle. This ain't going to work. ISM is one of the worst tracks on the schedule. It's basically New Hampshire since they changed the banking now. And ISM in general is just a boring track that provides mediocre racing. I feel like Homestead was a better track because you had the high side and the low side was starting to kick in. It provided great racing. ISM is just a boring track. For God's sakes, if Harvick makes the Final Four, he's going to have like 5 championships, or how long they're going to keep ISM the finale. I just think it's the wrong track to have as the finale. I think if you really wanted to please the fans, you would have Atlanta as the finale. I think Atlanta being the finale would be a great idea, considering it'd be like a throwback sort of thing. So if you wanted to change the finale, I would have made it Atlanta personally, or I would have just kept it to being Homestead since it was kind of a tradition now. You basically killed the Homestead event because now Homestead pretty much means nothing. It's just another regular season mile-and-a-half race. That's not particularly good, especially when you're kind of in a dire state and you're trying to please your fans. So, could be better. It really could be. I don't like that move. I think it's going to be a boring race, and Harvick's going to win every championship. So, what you going to do? All right, so that's about 5 bad things and 4 good things. So, the cons outweigh the pros. However, with this schedule, I give it a 6 out of 10. I don't think it's terrible. I think we have enough good changes. For example, Martinsville getting a night race, Bristol getting a playoff cutoff race, Martinsville being a playoff cutoff race, and there's one more thing I liked. Oh, yeah, Kansas getting its original spring day was good too, and then Atlanta getting pushed back to later parts in the season, and the West Coast swing being right after the Daytona 500. I like those changes, so that's the good part of the schedule. Bad part of the schedule is taking away the Daytona Summer Race's traditional date and being in the summer and then moving Indianapolis to the summer. Because we need Indianapolis to have a prestigious date. Yet Indianapolis pretty much means nothing now since attendance has been piss poor. Bad move on NASCAR. Homestead and the finale getting changed. The finale getting changed, I get it's an experiment. But why ISM? Why? I understand it's a great facility for the fans, and it'll probably do well in attendance, not in TV ratings. But at the same time, though, I don't think it'll last long. It's kind of a temporary solution to a permanent problem. So I don't like that move a lot. I'm not a fan of it. So that's about it. I give this schedule a 6 out of 10. I think it's got about an even amount of pros and cons. It's not exactly the... sorry, the shirt's really uncomfortable. It's not exactly the most innovative schedule. I think 2021 is going to be much interesting because now you got the contracts with the tracks expiring, and it can only mean new tracks and more variety. So, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm very interested to hear what you think. I don't know if you guys will like it or not. If you like my opinion, let me know in the comments. And I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.